Hello and welcome. I'm so excited to have you here today because we're talking about three top mistakes that new homeschoolers make that they can totally avoid. And guess what? I see a lot of veteran homeschoolers making this mistake too. And it's something that can cause you a lot of stress, but we can avoid that and we can get out of stress mode completely and not even get there in the first place. So this is exciting because I made all these. I made all these mistakes. I made all these mistakes and it was rough. It was rough. And when we first started homeschooling, I did all the things that you would think, including these three mistakes. And it caused us so much stress that it lowered my love of learning. It lowered my son's love of learning. And within a few weeks, we were both crying every day. It broke my heart to watch his love of learning drop, to watch us fighting and being frustrated. And he was only 6 years old. I know you've probably been there. In most of the parents that I talk to, you've probably been there. But guess what? If I'd had just avoided these things, man, things would have looked a lot differently. And we could have been in a completely different place and starting from a place of love of learning instead of starting with frustration, stress, complaining, and for me, even crying, losing a lot of sleep about what to do next. So, homeschooling is a leap of faith, right? It's, man, it is such a leap of faith. This is step into the unknown. Suddenly, we're responsible for our kids' education and their future success. That's a lot to bring on a mama. That's a lot to bring on parents when we already feel the stress just from being parents. And so it is a leap of faith. It automatically comes with this stress, this overwhelm, and you can really feel lost because there's so much information out there. There's so many ways of doing things. How do you know what's right for you and your family? And we're going to talk about that because it leads you, this stress leads you into the homeschool breakdown trap. That's what I call it because it's your stress. It's your, what I call the educational should. I talk about it all the time. That idea that you just need to be doing more. You don't want your kids to fall behind, that kind of stress. And you want them to be ready for the future. You put that on your kids because they can feel it and they feel that stress too, which causes then their love of learning to drop. And then when their love of learning drops, I know this happened to me, I felt more stressed. I felt more overwhelmed. I felt like a failure and I felt mom guilt. Then that caused me more stress, which then added to him again and lowered his love of learning even more. I see this literally every single day with parents I talk to from literally all over the world. I see it in Facebook posts. I see it in social media everywhere. And I hear it from moms in wanting to give up. This is why, because there's a few more, but these are three big mistakes. And I want to touch on these three because I've been seeing them a lot since the first of the school year started. And I want to make sure that you don't fall into that trap. Okay, so these are the top three. There's another one about beginning with the end in mind, but I think that these three are the most avoidable in terms of what we normally do in our habits and the tendencies that we have as parents, as new homeschoolers to go out and start doing right away. So, the first mistake that new homeschoolers make pretty much almost all the time, unless you have a really strong homeschooling background or a lot of really amazing homeschool friends that didn't do this or that made the mistake like I did and did it and they can tell you not to, is to go out and get curriculum right away. It's the biggest mistake ever. It's the most natural thing. We think, of course, what do we need to learn? We need a curriculum because that's what we did in school ourselves. That's what maybe our kids did. And we think we need to go do that right now. And what I see happening a lot is that not only does the curriculum not generally match with your family's situation, your schedules, your personality styles, the way your kids learn, but also you're bringing in what didn't work in school into your home. And for me, that's what I did. I took I got all the things together, all the workbooks, all the textbooks, and I was super excited to get started. We had a little Tykes desk with a little stool with a red top, and I just sat on the floor and I was excited about all the things we were going to learn together. And it didn't turn out like I thought because my 6-year-old didn't want to do workbooks and work things. Now, your kids might say that they like them. What I found is that they usually like the accolades that they get from you, not necessarily doing the worksheet. There are a few kids who actually thrive in that way, but not very many. I'm talking like less than 5%. Okay. So it's something to think about. And plus, you're taking that stuff that they didn't like in school and you're bringing it home. When they didn't like it there, they're not going to like it here. And I had the situation of we're starting from scratch, but I took what I knew to not work and then I brought it home. Hello. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So that's kind of a weird thing, right? Just it's a different way of thinking, but not to go out and get curriculum right away. You need to make sure that you have an intentional reset to get your family in a new place, in a new groove. And then when you're there, you'll find more easily a good curriculum that fits your family, which you may not even use all the time. You may use it all the time, who knows? But at least you won't waste time, you won't waste money, and you won't lower love of learning by going out and just getting something recommended or everything looks good online, doesn't it? All the curriculums, they look amazing. And it's so overwhelming. Just hold the phone, hold on, and don't do it just yet. And if you did already, you can backtrack. Trust me. I work with families all the time that we do this, okay? So, the second one is the word. I know you're going to push me back on this a little bit because it's so, so common, is deschooling. I hate the word deschooling. I hate it because no one tells you what to do. No one tells you how it's supposed to work. It's just a break. Take a break from school. Well, don't you do that during the summer? And you go back to school and it's the same. So it's nothing's changing, nothing's different. Deschooling, the idea of it is to break the learning expectations that we have about what learning looks like, what kinds of things we use to learn, how my confidence in learning. And we break that cycle and we build it new. That is not deschooling. It is the love of learning reset, though. That's what I do is the love help families through is the love of learning reset. That's what I actually did with my son, I without realizing it. Later on, I learned that that is exactly what needs to happen to get our family in a different groove, a different mindset, and then we can start to pick curriculum, right? Like I just mentioned. But the deschooling thing, don't deschool. Do an intentional family or sorry, love of learning reset. A love of learning reset, an intentional one where we're doing something different. Remember that I hear from families all the time. Remember talking to a mom one time that she said, "Well, we took a break over Christmas and now we're back and it's this we're having the same problems." I get it. I know you took a break, you thought we just need to a little refresh, a little recess, and then we'll be fine. But you didn't do anything different. And you didn't take time to reset the learning expectations and then reinforce it with doing different things. And that takes intentionality. That takes doing something different on purpose. And so when we're doing something different on purpose, then we can actually retrain the brain, retrain confidence, come together as a family, build relationships and connection closer. And now we're in a different homeschool groove. We can start to build routines, start to build schedules, start to build curriculum if we need to. Do you see how that's different than just, "Oh, you need to deschool?" I see that all the time in Facebook groups on posts, and it drives me absolutely insane. Somebody says, "Please give me all the tips for starting homeschooling," and they say, "You need deschool." That's it. That's all they say. Ah! Please, please. Big mistake. Because if you don't do something different, then you're gonna get what you got, right? Does that make sense? I know the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, right? If we did the same thing that didn't work in school, we expect a different result, not we're not thinking correctly. And that's what I did. It's exactly what I did. When I realized that, I was like, I know what am I doing? I know better than this. But I fell into that same trap, right? And so I want to touch on the third thing because this is something that I see, oh my gosh, more and more today than ever before. There is so much information out there that it is more than overwhelming. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has this worked for me. This worked, oh, we love this curriculum. This worked for whatever. But they don't ask questions. They don't say what about this? How old are your kids? What does your schedule look like? What is their level of learning level? That seems to be very important, right? And so there's a lot of advice, and I've even seen so many homeschool one-on-one 101s, homeschool how to get started, quick plan, homeschool getting started blog. So many things that have these 3 mistakes built in. And so this is the last mistake is to you're out there researching, which I get, and I did too. There wasn't as much available as there is now, which I can only imagine how frustrating and overwhelming, and I know how that is because I hear it from parents every day. But I know you are super overwhelmed and lost and don't know who to follow and what plan to do, and it's really, really stressful. And so what I see happening is that there's a lot of like, tell me all the things. And then there's not really valuable advice given in these posts of tell me all the things. I'm about to get started. We're thinking about homeschooling. Tell me the tell me the steps to homeschooling. What's your best schedule? You guys, all of these things are very individual. And they take a lot of your family and your end goal into account when if you're really building this in the best most effective way that means that you're going to achieve lifelong learners, leaders and young adults passionate for going out in the world and doing their best life and they're ready, future ready for anything that they want to accomplish in the world. You have to be specific. And what I see a lot in these homeschool 101s, these, how to get started quick plans is that you maybe they have a nail down your methodology before you choose curriculum. Maybe they might have that, but they have deschooling in there. Then they have nail down your curriculum. None of these have specifics, by the way. Then you build a schedule. Okay, well, we all know that to be true, but they don't say how to do it. And lots of times, didn't I just say the deschooling and the choosing curriculum first is a problem, right? So you have to do a couple of things when you're looking for homeschool advice. And I did a whole other podcast on this. I believe it was episode 76. But Oh, do your research. Sure, do your research. I always recommend to look around and see what resonates with you. Do it for legal requirements for sure and get it from the right source. Don't just take somebody's advice on Facebook, but then do a fruit check. Do you guys know what a fruit check is? So, a fruit check is, does the person who's saying this have fruit on the tree? And does it have specific questions and information that I can follow that makes sense for my family right now? And you might not even know if it does, to be honest. I didn't. But look for fruit. Just because somebody got their kid into college with homeschooling doesn't mean that they have the fruit that you want. Maybe they did it in a way that was super box checking and they basically reproduced school at home. You can absolutely do that and get your kids into college, but it doesn't have to look that way. It doesn't have to be like that. You can have high level of learning and still get your kids into college. Do you see what I'm saying? So you really want to look into the fruit on the tree of what your specific family needs and make sure the person is asking you questions because they have to get to know you first. I was just talking to this amazing mama, and she was telling me all about her homeschool experience and what struggles they're having. And so I said, okay, we need to have a conversation with you and your husband, and we need to have a deeper conversation about really where you are, what your end goal is, and what your challenges are. And she said, okay, well, how much is that? And I said, well, actually, I do that for free because it's important for me to be authentic in knowing what you need for me to be able to recommend the best path for you, whether it's working with me or not. Does that make sense? So I'm not saying that the person has to offer all of these things for you, but just look at the fruit. I actually know someone in particular, which is not the only person that I know, but I do know one person in particular who's put out a blog and shares it everywhere on how to get started homeschooling, who is a classroom teacher that does not homeschool their kids. Just saying. Just saying. Do you see what I'm saying? And it's so difficult to get that information because you don't often have the fruit on the tree to check it with, right? They're just sharing like a blog article. They're just sharing, maybe not even that. Maybe they're just sharing a piece of advice somewhere. You got to have the fruit check. It's very important. So, number one mistake is going out and getting curriculum right away. Two, what is it? Deschooling. Deschooling. Three, not having a fruit check and just going out and following the fluff that's out there. There's a lot of fluff. There always is in any industry. But homeschooling, because it's grown so fast, there's a lot of people with a lot of opinions. It's just natural. It's just natural. Okay. But this is what I do. It pains me to talk to parents who are so frustrated because they made all these mistakes and they're struggling. It hurts me. I'm so passionate about making sure that you have a culture that supports fun, supports stress-free environment, supports love of learning and developing lifelong learners. And that is what I want to invite you to this coming it is October now. So coming to you October 16th, Thursday, October 16th at 12 p.m. Pacific time, I would like to invite you to the Inspiring Lifelong Learners Masterclass. And we're going to talk about these solutions more deeply and more specifically to these mistakes. And we're going to talk about a couple more. You guys are going to get such a great perspective from this on specifically how your family can build this culture. And if you've made those mistakes and you're in a struggling place, it's okay. I'm going to show you how to get out of that and how to get to fun, ease, laughter, projects, going outside, getting amazing learning happening, and kids asking you to learn about things. What? Craziness. I know. It's so fun though. So The link for registration is going live on Monday. It's going live on Monday. I included it in the show notes, but it's not quite live yet. So, Monday, if you're on my email list, you'll get an email about it, and I will post about it as well. You're going to see it in lots of different places, but the link is in everywhere you're seeing this or listening to this. If it's Monday the 6th, that's when registration starts. Monday, October 6th is when the registration starts. You can go in there. It's free. Just make sure you show up live because it's only great when you show up live and you can ask questions, right? Okay? And the last thing I want to ask you, because I always forget to do this, but I would love to invite you, if you resonate with anything that I'm talking about, if you resonate with me, if you could just go on Apple Podcasts and leave me a quick review, if you could please just share this with one other person, I'd be so grateful. Again, this is my joy. This is what I love to do. It's my mission in the world. And I want to make sure that everybody who needs this information gets it. So please help me out with that. And leaving a review really helps me to get it out to more people. So please do that. If you do leave a review on Apple Podcasts, just screenshot it, send me it in a DM. And then what I'm going to do is I'll send you my free guide on, well, it's not free, but I'm going to send it to you for free for the 3 top things you can do, foolproof ways to increase love of learning. Okay? Deal? All right, you guys. I will talk to you again next week. Bye-bye.